BroadwayStudioBroadway.com. It's me, Sam Polly. Welcome to episode 5? Episode 5 already? This is crazy. Welcome to episode 5 of Champagne Problems. I thought this week's episode we could talk about auditioning, and I thought I could share some of my audition stories and then maybe snag some people in the cast and ask them what their audition was like for this show. The Great Gatsby had, I think, a lot of workshops and readings, none of which I was a part of. I left 6 on Broadway at the end of 2022, and I had my first audition for The Great Gatsby, I think, the end of March 2023. Got an email from my agents asking if I would come in for the role of Jordan. I read the description. They said, we can see if they'll see you for Daisy instead if you want. And I said, no, I'm absolutely a Jordan. And a lot of times shows will have something called an open call where union performers can just go, they sing something from their book, they might have to dance, and then maybe they get called back for something. Other times, if they're a little further along in the audition process, they'll just start having appointments for people that they know they're interested in maybe being in the show. I had never worked with any of the creatives a part of this show before. None of them. But I was asked to come in for an appointment, so I was sent 2 sides. I was given the Daisy Jordan golf scene that we have, and then what else was I given? I think I might have been given the cottage scene with Nick and Jordan post the T number. And then I was given a snippet of the original New Money that we did at Paper Mill that is no longer in the show. Now we have the current New Money. But I was given a snippet of that. And if it's something new, well, actually, even if it's something new or like a show that exists, I'll always plan to sing what is on the page, what's written. I might have an idea in my head of like a fun riff or an option I can throw in if they will let me. I went in and I asked Jason Howland, our composer, I said, do you want me to sing exactly what's on the page, or, you know, can I have a little fun? And he said, I want you to do what you do. Like, that's why I brought you in. I want you to do what you do. And I said, great. So I threw in like, you know, a couple little things, and most actors have, you know, an audition binder. It has multiple songs in it. I don't really anymore. I have a very flimsy binder with maybe like 5 songs in it. And that's mostly because I'm not really going to open calls anymore. And when I go to auditions, I'm not usually asked like, what else do you have in your book? But of course, Jason did that to me that day. He said, what else do you have in your book? I think I sang... What did I say? I think I sang the end of one of my go-to audition, like 32 bar cuts is the end of Look at Me Now from Andrew Lippa's Wild Party. I sang that. He was like, amazing, great. I did the sides. They gave me some notes. And then I got asked to go to Final Callbacks, which was like 2 weeks later, I think. And I just had to sing and do the same material. Nothing new, nothing changed. And then at that point, it was all the creatives, all the producers. There were like 15 people behind the table. And I went in and I did the same thing. And then Jason said, what else do you have in your book? And he said something that's like not belty. And my other go-to, like my contrasting piece is I Wish It So from Juno. It's a very old musical. So I sang a little bit of that. And I thought it went really well. I felt really good. Mark Bruni, our director, gave me some notes. I did the scenes a couple times. And then I didn't hear anything for a couple days. And then I was out with a couple friends at dinner. And I got an email from my agents. And they said, hey, you have an appointment for a private work session with the choreographer for Gatsby, with Dominique Kelly. And it said private session, meaning one-on-one. And I hadn't danced at that point. They hadn't asked me to. They'd had dance calls, but I didn't need to be there. And I emailed back and I said, this is actually my worst nightmare. I don't think I want to do that. And they emailed back and they said, no, this is just so he can see what you can do. They would tailor the number to your abilities. I said, okay. So I went a couple days later and I had a really amazing, like, fun 30 minutes with Dom and his associate, Cedric. And we did, like, runway walks up and down the floor. We did some, like, partnering and some lifting so he could see, like, how well I can work with someone if I need to be lifted. He taught me maybe, like, 3 8 counts, I think, of, I don't remember what it was. It might have been New Money at the time. But that was it. And then maybe like a week later, I got an offer and I was asking a lot of questions like, do we know who else is in it? Like, who's playing Gatsby? Like, who's this and who's that? And one of my agents goes, well, I heard that Gatsby is Jeremy Jordan. And I almost dropped my phone. I said, excuse me? If it's him, this is going to Broadway. That was my audition story. I'm going to find some more people during the show and ask them about their stories too. I'll also tell you guys at the end of the day, or, you know, after I talk to everybody else, my audition story for 6, because that is crazy and like the most what's meant for you will not pass you by type of story. So stay tuned for that too. I'm in Lynette's room. Lynette, please tell us about your audition process for the show. Tell us everything.
My audition process went like this. So I got a self-tape sometime in early December, I think. I did the self-tape. And granted, unfortunately, I had a death in the family. So my one-way road was like, I was just emotional AF. So I think that helped. I don't know. But I was able to kind of like vent through that song a little bit. Then I got a final callback maybe a few weeks later, and the only person I knew in the creative team was Jason, and he had texted me before I went in. He was like, just like a bunch of hearts, and then he came out to give me a hug, which was really nice because he was like, I know you need this because you're nervous. I said, yes, you know me. So I went in, I just gave him my all, and it was maybe 2 days before Christmas Eve, and the breakdown said we wouldn't know until, you know, after the new year. And you know how that is. We're like ready to just have a panic attack because I'm like, I need to know. And the day before Christmas Eve, Jason texted me, happy early Christmas, and I lost it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was like this. Tape, final callback, done.
What material did they give you? What did you have to do?
I had to do Secondhand Suit, One Way Road, Wilson 1 and Wilson 2.
The scenes with him.
Yeah.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. And you crushed it. What did you wear?
Oh, actually, I've been looking at the camera. I'm gonna look at you now. What did I wear? Something I'll never forget. Dom. Tanari told me that Dom does not give compliments easy.
No.
When I tell you, when I walked in the room, I sent Tanari a picture and a video. I was like, is this right? I don't have any 20s. I wore this like fuchsia pink dress that I had years ago from Zara with some like black long beaded necklace I had and some beaded, I know.
Shut up.
I know. Meant to be, right?
Shut up.
And so Tanari was like, oh, it's great. And I did my makeup like a little dark, whatever. And I went in, and Dom, after my audition, stopped me in the room, and he was like, I just have to say, you are the best dressed person we've had this entire audition process. And I was like, he was like, you did the thing, like you came prepared, and like you look amazing. And he was like, and I was like, oh my God, thank you. So
yeah, girl. And she booked. She's a star.
Ay, gracias. I love you.
Hi. My name is Dariana Mullen.
Oh my God.
And I am in the female ensemble, otherwise known as the Heels. And I play Gilda Gray. And then I understudy Jordan and Myrtle.
I'm Lex. I'm in the Heels ensemble, and I'm a sugar. Most importantly, I'm also Bridget.
Oh. Tell us the audition process. What did you have to do? How did it go? Oh, I was just... No, is the hair weird? Do you guys think the hair is weird?
Do you like it?
What's wrong with that?
You're right, sorry.
No one really sees it. It's under a hat.
It's under a hat. What were you saying?
Tell me your audition process. How did you book this gig?
Well, in April of 2023, I got an email from my agent, and it was for Paper Mill, The Great Gatsby at Paper Mill, and they said, hoping to transfer to Broadway. I said, I don't care. I don't work. I'll go in for anything. But I was intrigued by the book and the creative team, and it was for ensemble understudy Jordan. I came in, they only had me do the Jordan scene and then the old New Money song. I thought it was literally fine. Like, I walked out of that room and I gave myself like a 4.
So you had an appointment. You didn't go to an open call.
Had an appointment.
Amazing.
Had an appointment, and then I left and I was like, maybe? And then a day later, I got a call back that said, come back in and do the same stuff. I came back in, I was running late, so late because there was traffic. I was running on 8th Avenue. I went to a dance call, it was a mover call, thank God. And then I went into the singing call and everybody and their mother was there. Like literally everyone brought their moms, it was so many people. And they were like, do the Jordan stuff again. And I sucked this time. Like if I thought I was okay last time, I was massive crack, humongo, awful, terrible trash. And I did all of that and then I did the scenes too. And then they were like, Mark Bruni was like, do you have anything else in your book? And I said, thank you for asking, Mark. I have the song from Bonnie and Clyde, and it was this like, and I think they were like kind of testing.
You know that one?
Oh my God.
I think they were testing me for Gilda, and so I sang that song like it was very slow ballady, and they were like, just take your time with it, and I did, and I left the room, and I was like, okay, so I just did so bad in that, awful, I'm never gonna be on Broadway, I'm literally a waste of space. I went home, I got ice cream from the supermarket, and I cried in bed, and I ate the whole thing.
Remember she
And
said
then,
the story was gonna be
God.
quick?
Yes.
I'm almost done. And then I woke up the next morning and Dominique Kelly, choreographer, followed me on Instagram and said, oh, work, I either got it or I did really well in the room. And that's a win.
Yeah.
As any actor
A
will
win.
tell ya. And then I got the call from my agents that I booked the Paper Mill production. We did Paper Mill. I was crying, freaking out, hoping it would transfer to Broadway and that I would go with it. Both things happened. And then I got an email and they said, hey, you're also doing Myrtle. I said, oh, Scooby-Doo noise. What do you mean? And now we're here.
Here we are.
Wonderful. So, went to the ECC, did a little dancey-do, and then that was that. And then about a month later, I got an email for an invited call, and then I went to that, and then I got called back the next day, and then I sang at some point too. I think that first invited call I danced and I sang, and then the next day I came back and I danced some more, sang some
God.
more, and then I didn't hear anything for a long time, and then 3 weeks.
Oh,
That's a long time.
Maybe
a long
3
time.
weeks.
I
maybe.
feel like-
Well, considering I found out on December 6th, and December 5th, and rehearsal started December 9th. So that's why I was like,
Right.
all right, didn't
I feel
get
like
it.
3 weeks is long enough that I would be like, I have released
But I was
this.
told,
Yeah.
I kept being told I'm still in the mix, hold off.
Wow.
And then, yeah.
Fascinating.
And I was one of the first replacements in The Great Gatsby.
Yeah!
Hi, my name is Kimberly Lennox, and I dress Daisy here. And how I booked this gig is I actually don't know if it's a mix of the two or what actually went down. I'm just very grateful it went down either way. I don't know if Eva asked for me because I worked with her at Hadestown, or one of the other dressers here named Pep, who I also worked with at Hadestown, put my name in when they were looking for a dresser for her. So between the two of them, magic happened, and here I am, and I'm so grateful.
My, oh my. What's your name?
Hi. My name is Curtis Holland.
Hey, what's up? My name is Michael Maliakel and I play Nick Carraway.
And I'm Eric Anderson, and I play Mayor Wolfshine.
Yeah, you do.
Tell us your
Mayor.
process or auditioning, or maybe not.
Yeah.
How did this show come about?
It was kind of quick for me. I had one audition. It was the final round for the boys they were looking to replace the King, Noah.
I was there. I was in
and
the room.
the lady behind the camera
remember
was
Noah.
there, and
I
we
was
got
there.
to read through the scenes, and it was quick and dirty. And then that was it.
Amazing.
And I did not audition.
What's that
So
like?
what happened? Did you like get a phone call?
Jason Howland called me and asked me if I would read this role when they were doing readings, and then I proceeded to do the labs and the workshops. Couldn't do it out of town because I was still in Moulin Rouge, and
Yes.
that's a bit of a price cut. But gratefully, I was asked to do it here on the Broadway, and I'm just so
What,
And
happy.
now
what
here
number
we are.
Broadway show is this for you?
Yeah. How many Broadway shows?
Oh, you know,
This is
I've
number-
done a couple of handfuls.
10. It's
This
his
is
10th
number
Broadway
10.
show.
Well, that's if you include the revival of Waitress.
That's incredible.
That counts. That counts.
Okay, love you
Great.
guys. Thank you.
Hi, vlog.
I'm really scared.
Why?
It's spooky.
This is going great. Is the lighting good?
The
With
lighting
this
is
single
it's
fluorescent
actually
light.
great because it's like shining at a good angle on you.
Period.
Yeah, everyone looks great. Tell us your names and what auditioning for the show was like. How did you book? How did you book, divas? Kiss.
I got a phone call from my manager that they needed to replace Jeremy kind of fast-ish, and it was, and actually I love this and I give them a lot of credit for this. It was an offer contingent on a meeting. So they had to like me and I had to like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you must be joking, because I didn't think that I could do it. And I saw the show, and my partner and I had a system where we would squeeze each other's thigh if it meant, oh, you could totally do that, and squeeze each other's hand if it was like, that might be hard. And after there were a lot of thigh squeezing, a lot of hand squeezing, and then it got to past, and he was on the platform coming down, and we looked at each other and we were like, you have to do this.
Yeah.
So I went in for the meeting. I got to sing with Jason a little bit. We talked for a long time, and they sent the official offer before I left the building, and
Incredible.
I had replied hell yeah before I'd even left the building.
That's amazing.
It was wonderful, and now here I am.
That's a great story.
I have to go. But I was here
Austin.
for that whole thing.
I have to
My
go.
knee hurts.
Austin, you were in the ensemble before and you covered Gatsby, and now,
Yes.
sorry, Jimmy, and now you're playing Tom Buchanan
Yeah.
full time.
Full time.
Did you have to go back in and re-audition?
I did. I asked if they would see me, expecting them to say no.
You asked?
I asked. I actually
then you
asked,
booked.
and I asked my agents to come in for the.
Yeah, you're making me nervous on that.
for the
I don't like that. Nita.
for the
Austin.
yeah, I had to go.
Okay, bye. While I uncover my tattoos, I'll tell you my sixth story very quickly. So in 2019, I had agreed to do a production of Footloose at the Marriott Theater. They just asked me if I would come and play Rusty. I said, sure. I was at a very low point in my career. I didn't like theater anymore, was not interested in auditioning for anything. Nothing was making me excited. I was ready to quit. And I said, sure, that'll be like my last hurrah. They just gave me an offer. Cool, I'll do it. And then I knew that Six was coming to Chicago Shakespeare Theater. They came to my agents and asked if I would audition, and it conflicted directly with Footloose. So I said, no, I already signed a contract. I can't leave him hanging like that. So I said no. They came back a second time. They said, please, will Sam come in? I said, no. I've done like 8 shows at the Marriott. I love them so much. I don't want, to hurt my relationship with them. Then Six started having auditions in Chicago, New York, some in Canada. They came back again. They said, please, will she audition? I said, no. Maybe if it ever goes to Broadway, they'll ask me. Maybe they'll see me then. Then they asked me a 4th time, and this was when Roberta Duchek, who is the music director of Six, and she was my voice teacher in Chicago. I would see her occasionally. She called me and left me a voicemail. I still have it on my phone. I'll never delete it. She said, hey, I know you've got another gig booked. We've started having auditions for Six. There's one part that we're just not really seeing what we want. And I just keep thinking, we got to get Sam Polly. I think this is your show, and I think it's going to transfer to Broadway. I think you should just make a tape so that the creatives can see you. So in my living room at 10:30 p.m., I made an audition tape, because you're not allowed to sing any music theater when you audition for Six. It has to be pop, rock, R&B, whatever. So I sang an Ariana Grande song, because I was like, I think Kay Howard is the role she's talking about. I think that it would be the best fit for me. I sang God is a Woman. And if you are coming to either of my concerts at Joe's Pub on August 18th or 19th, you will hear the exact cut of that song that I sang for my audition. So I made the tape, texted it to her. 5 minutes later, she texted me back. She said, great, they just want you to come to final callbacks. And at that point, I had not danced at all. I didn't know any of the music from the show. I didn't know any of the dancing. I went to final callbacks at Chicago Shakespeare Theater. Maybe 30 girls from Chicago, New York, Canada. And it was like an 8-hour day. We were there from 10 in the morning until 6:30 at night. And we learned 3 different dance combinations. We learned a combo to Freakum Dress by Beyonce. We learned a little bit of No Way and a little bit of Get Down. And then at that point we were singing songs from the show, and I got called in for Boleyn, Howard, and Seymour. And I went in for Howard, and I was the last one to go in my group. And before I went in the room, I thought, I think I'm gonna book this. And I finished that day, and then 2 days later my agent called me and I booked. And all this to say, the things that are meant for you will never pass you by. I was at a point in my life where I was ready to be done, and you just heard the story. I kept saying no, no, no thank you, no, no. The things that are meant for you will always find you. And that show changed my life completely. Like, that's why I'm doing this today. Crazy. Anyway, I have to go bow now for curtain call. That's episode 5, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We got one left. Let me know what you want to see for the last episode. Love ya.
New money, young, rich, and wild, rebel, reviled. You can't stop that new money. Fill in your pocket, spend it while you got it. Heaven knows it.